Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 66.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, let's chat a little bit. Today's subject matter is about worry, a timely subject, and I teased about it in my Facebook group yesterday in my Mindset Minute, and I asked you, do you struggle with worry? Do you ever worry? And of course, it's a rhetorical question because everybody does to one degree or another. Everybody has some amount of worry in their life. Some of us are better at conquering it than others, but all of us have to deal with the emotion and experience of worry. And I think it's something very important for us to recognize and to master and have tools to deal with it successfully in our life, because worry can really hold us back, and worry can really change the quality of life that we have and our ability to move forward towards our goals. Worry is not where we want to spend our time, but many of us do. Now, it is such a common thing. So many people struggle with it. And I can tell you that when you talk to older people, my experience has been generally they will say to you, worry less. In fact, my maternal grandmother is famous for saying that to me. She lived to be almost 104, and she would tell me repeatedly as she got older, Elizabeth, don't worry. Don't worry. I spent so much time in my life worrying, she said, and 99% of what I worried about never happened. And the 1% that may have was never as bad as I imagined and always turned out for my good eventually. So she really regretted any amount of time she spent in a state of worrying. And I've heard that from so many older people. So we need to take that advice and we need to say to ourselves, how much time and effort do we spend worrying on a day-to-day basis? I've heard people say that worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. It takes effort. You go back and forth, back and forth. You expend a lot of energy to do it, but you never go anywhere. Even the Bible talks about it and says, what do you add to your day by worrying? Nothing. You can't do anything about tomorrow right now. Worrying adds nothing to your life. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but it's even addressed, God addresses it in the Bible, and he says, be anxious about nothing. Do not worry. He says, look at the birds of the air. They don't worry. Look at the flowers in the field. They don't worry. And how much more do I care about you? I will take care of things. But even with that admonishment, we still have a tendency to worry. So what is worry? It is a fear of the unknown. It is really having faith in fear because you are expecting and dreading bad things to happen. So that's really where you're putting your faith, is in fear. That's pretty sobering. I don't want to put my faith in fear. That is for certain. But that's really what worry is. And we expend a lot of energy imagining consequences, imagining situations, wondering what if. What if is the ultimate worry question. What if this happens? What if that happens? And we imagine these negative outcomes. And doing that actually has no ability to change what happens in our life, but it does have the ability to take away from us the power for us to attract positive outcomes. The power that we have to focus our energies on things that will take our lives in a better direction. Instead, we give our energy and we give our power to the imaginations of negative things. And that's what worry does. And I think back in my life whenever I've had worry, and I don't believe worry has ever kept me from experiencing something negative. It's not like it's been a saving grace. I'm so glad I worried about that, because if I hadn't worried about that, I wouldn't have taken care of something. I don't think it's the same as having that inner push that says you need to go get something done, or you need to focus on this, or that sense you have that something needs to change in your life. Worry is different. Worry is a nagging feeling that is negative, that doesn't provide you a path towards fixing something or a positive path towards an end that you want. Worry only highlights the negative, and worry is constantly focused on the what ifs in our future. And people have a tendency to worry so much that they'll even go to the extremes and try to get people to speak into their lives, like psychics and other people, to try to figure out, what is my future? Tell me what it is so I don't have to worry about it. But that's not where God asked us to be. He asked us to be in a state of faith. A state of faith means we don't allow fear in, and we don't worry about tomorrow. We make plans today, we work hard, we commit ourselves to the things that we should so that our tomorrows are better, but we don't do it from a state of worry. We don't do it from a state of panic. We do it from a state of faith, commitment, discipline, and a continued investment in our future and those around us. That is a positive way for us to address the what ifs of tomorrow. But worry has us in a panic. Worry actually creates chemicals in our brain that flood into our body that give us that fight or flight feeling, that have the ability to create disease in our body, which is disease, that have the ability to make us physically unwell as well as mentally unwell with worry. People have extreme cases of panic attack and anxiety connected to the fact that they worry about everything. They even worry about being anxious. I mean, worry is a trap out of which it is hard to pull yourself if you don't continue to stay on top of it and be committed to walking in faith and not walking in fear. So how do you recognize worrying? How is it different than just planning ahead in life, or just being concerned about avoiding risk, or just considering different outcomes and determining the right path for yourself? Worrying is different than all of that, because worrying has an element of fear that is distracting. Worry has an element that makes you feel out of control, that makes you feel like you have no influence on your future, that almost anything could happen to you and you are just a sitting duck ready for the negative stuff to fall in your lap. Worry makes you feel out of control. And you know, John Hagee wrote in a book that I'm reading by him, which is such a great book. He wrote that worry is your personal irritation with God, which I thought was really interesting. What he says about it is that worry means there's something over which you cannot have your own way, or at least you feel that way, right? In reality, worry is your personal irritation with God because something is going on in your life, or you fear something may happen in the future that he's permitted, that you can't control. So you almost develop this irritation with God that this thing is about to happen or could happen. You have no control over it and you think he's permitting it. And you really blame him and you worry and you take that on yourself. And it's just fear. That's very different than planning for your future. That's very different than investing in what may happen to you tomorrow. That's very different than trying to be disciplined and focused and determined to shape the potential of your future instead of just sitting there and worrying about what may happen. And people worry about just the most crazy things, but they worry about so many different things. All of us have been there. But what is it? The one thing we have control over? None of the things we worry about. The only thing we have control over is our mind and how we direct it. Therefore, the conclusion would be stop worrying. Direct your mind away from worry. Direct your mind towards faith. Direct your mind towards peace, as we talked about last week. Walk in the peace of God, not the fear of the unknown. I mean, really, what is known? The only thing that we know for sure is anything that comes from God and comes from faith. We can be sure of faith. We can be sure of the way God sees us, but we can't be sure of tomorrow. We don't know. I mean, look at this past year. Could you have predicted any of this? It's just hard to imagine that we are where we are here in 2020 with everything that's happened. But had we worried about all of that, it wouldn't have changed where we are today. A determination to mold your future, a determination to make good decisions, a determination to work hard, to be disciplined, to have the kind of future that you hope and dream of, that's different. Worrying adds nothing to your life. Worrying only detracts from your life. And worrying keeps you out of a state of peace, which is where God wants us to be. Worry really is an extreme amount of fear. That's what it is. It is born out of fear. Worry has no relationship to faith, and worry is a very close cousin, and in fact, I would say almost the same as fear. So we know that you either conquer fear or fear conquers you. And I believe the same can be said about worry. But what does it really take ultimately to conquer worry? I think it's self-control. I really do. I think it's a self-mastery to say, I will not think those thoughts. Thoughts just don't magically disappear because we wish that they would do so. Thoughts just don't leave us because they're annoying and difficult and negative and we wish to be in a better situation. We have to do the work to master our thought life. We have to do the work to say, I will not think that way. I will replace those negative thoughts and those worries with positive affirmation and truth and faith. That doesn't happen just because we wish it so. It is actual work that we have to do, which is why mastering your mindset is an ongoing daily practice. It even talks about that in the Bible. Paul says that we need to master our thoughts daily, that we need to renew our minds daily. So it's not a one and done. It's not something that comes just because we want it. It's a choice. We choose to master our thoughts. We choose to have self-control. We ultimately choose to master worry, to master fear, so that we can live a different kind of life, the life that God intended for us to live. Worry adds nothing to your life. It only brings in negativity. And I've said before, and you've heard it before, that which you focus on expands. Be careful. If you worry and you focus on the what ifs, if you focus on the negative possibilities, don't be surprised if you don't experience some of them, because that's what you're looking for, frankly. Instead, focus on the positive, focus on the possibility, move yourself in that direction, control your thoughts, master your thoughts, and get the help you need if you struggle with recurring negative thoughts. Find someone you can talk to about that. Put them in the right context. Put them up against truth and see them melt away. Because worry and fear and lies in the light of truth melt away. They cannot stand when the light of truth is shown on them. And I want you to walk in truth and know truth so that you don't have to spend your life worrying and in fear, and then find yourself at the end of your days understanding that you never really experienced the life you were meant to because you spent all your time worrying about what may happen and what never did happen. So that is my encouragement for you this week. Worry so much less. Be excited about your future. Know that challenges will come, but you have the ability to master them. And that worry adds nothing to your life, but faith adds everything. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.